Across college, the NFL season kicks off in 5 days with the Cowboys. They haven't made any headlines. Heading to Philly to take on the Super Bowl champs. Dallas will, of course, be without Micah Parsons, traded to Green Bay Thursday. The four-time Pro Bowler agreeing to a 4-year, $188 million deal with the Pack. 120 of that is guaranteed. Dallas received defensive tackle Kenny Clark, 2 first-round picks as well. Here's Parsons speaking last night after joining the Pack.
No, I didn't have any say. It was just, I would say I'm pretty lucky because I understand the rich history of the Packers and the fact that they had interest in me and understand that they had a pretty tough team already in the NFC, and I was pretty much geared up, ready to play them, looking for revenge. But now I'm on the other side of adding to this rich history and being able to play with these guys and suit up and, play. I'm very excited.
Before you left, did you talk to Jerry, Steven? Did they tell you that you were being traded, or was it all through David?
It was pretty much all through David. You know what I mean?
So Micah Parsons joining one of the best teams across the NFL in one of the best divisions. 3 of the 4 went to the playoffs last season in the NFC North. What's the rest of the league as Jeremy Fowler joins the program this morning? It's the gift that keeps giving for sports viewers. What is the rest of the league saying about this deal going down?
Gee, the reviews are mixed. Now, I will say people around the league are not as down on this trade for Dallas as a lot of the media is that said it was a disaster. They said, if you had to move on from him, getting 2 first-round picks and a good defensive tackle on Kenny Clark is really not that bad. Not great. I talked to a few execs who said, hey, if you would have done it maybe in late March, early April before the draft, you could have got some better draft picks. Green Bay's going to be pretty good this year, so their first-round picks are probably going to be somewhere in the 20s in the first round. So the picks are not as good. The bigger criticism is that the fact they moved on from him at all. Like, you have a Hall of Fame player that you couldn't work it out with. But considering they had to trade him this late before week 1, they actually got a decent return.
4 years of pro, 4 years of Pro Bowler, a 2-time All-Pro, and he's going back to Dallas to hunt Dak Prescott week 4, Sunday Night Football. The script keeps giving to us. Who's paying attention to the deal, the extension that Micah Parsons signed, 4 years, $188 million? Because he is the tide that lifts all boats.
Gary, if you are Detroit's Aiden Hutchinson, Thursday was a pretty good day. You saw that deal come down the pipe. I mean, the pass rush money is crazy. It has more than doubled in the last 7 years. So that's good news for Hutchinson, who is going into his 4th year. The Lions have 2 years of contractual control on him, so they don't have to do anything right now, but they have started a dialogue about a potential extension. The little bit of a hiccup here is that leg injury he had last year, and the Lions would like to see him get back on the field a little bit, see where he is. That's my sense. However, he's looked so good in the preseason and in practices, they're not all that worried about it. They know he's elite. He showed that last year in the minimal amount of games that he's played. So I expect the Lions to try to lock him up here sooner than later.
Micah Parsons became the highest non-quarterback to ever get paid in the National Football League. Hold that title while you can, because Aiden Hutchinson is probably coming for it sooner rather than later. Jeremy back in a little bit on the program with week 1 injury.
Taylor Swift, what a love story, what an ending, what a move in a week filled with them. That is the biggest move that we've seen this week.
Hey, I tell you what, the rich get richer. Way to go, Terrell.
Yeah, talk about swinging for the fences and hitting a home run, man.
Hey, welcome to NFL Live. You already heard my boy Adam Schefter. We have Damian Woody and Dan Orlovsky here with me. I mean, Dan, when you're Travis Kelce and you're going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, you're one of the greatest players to ever play, it's difficult to marry up.
He did. You can't marry down, that's for sure. Listen, all jokes aside, I watched the podcast that was on New Heights with Travis, Jason, and her. I thought she was awesome. I hope they get married. I hope they're married forever. I hope they have a bunch of kids, and have just an awesome life together in that regard. They seem great. So,
to me, listen,
congrats.
I want to see people be happy.
No doubt.
And when you looked at both of them on the New Heights podcast, she was happy, Travis was happy. They're 2 people that love each other, and I'm so glad that all the people that were part of this is a publicity stunt camp,
we're wrong,
now have egg on their face. But let's get to real football. My hometown team finally named a starting quarterback. Adam, what can you tell us about New Orleans' decision?
RC, Kellen Moore, the Saints head coach, announced this afternoon that the Saints' new starting quarterback will be one Spencer Rattler. He gets the nod over the rookie second-round draft pick Tyler Shuck. They're going to head into the regular season opener with Rattler at the helm. And Rattler played pretty well. It's not like one of these quarterbacks outplayed the other by a drastic amount this summer, but it was enough for Rattler to win the job. And I think when you talk to people around the league, they believe that essentially it'll be easier to go from Rattler to Shuck one day than to start with Shuck, bench him, and go to Rattler.
Yeah, that's the reason why I always felt, or at least as this preseason has gone on, Spencer Rattler would be and should be the starting quarterback. He had some bright moments as well. Shefty's right that neither quarterback stood out in this regard. But week 2 of the preseason, he led an awesome comeback late where he got hot. He's as talented throwing the football as a lot of guys that we know in this league. And now he's got a decent opportunity with an offensive-minded head coach and is still a very young and promising receiver in Chris Olave. I would highly suspect Tyler Shuck plays at some point this year. But Spencer Rattler's got an opportunity to be the starting quarterback, and now it's up to him to make the most of it.
Yeah, Dan, just to piggyback off that, we know that Spencer Rattler is a very talented guy, but ultimately we know that Tyler Shuck, obviously the draft pick from this year, he's going to see the field at some point. And I think Adam said it perfectly. You rather go from a veteran to the rookie rather than a rookie and bench the rookie and go to the veteran. So at some point this year, Tyler Shuck's going to see the field. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, absolutely. When Tyler Shuck was coming out this year, I mean, Louis Riddick couldn't have been higher on what his potential could be as a starting quarterback in this league. But we forget sometimes who Spencer Rattler was, whether it was at Oklahoma or South Carolina before he was drafted in the 5th round. Incredibly strong arm, incredibly talented. But Tyler Shuck is a guy who I expect to see the field at some point this year, because if you're Kellen Moore, you have to know headed into next year, is your franchise quarterback of the future actually in your building? And if he isn't, you need to move on and figure out who that is. Totally. No, that wasn't the only business of today. By 4 p.m. Eastern, they have to be down. Every roster needs to be down to 53. Adam, what notable cuts should we know about?
RC, we saw a slew of notable cuts across the league today. Older players, younger players. Here are some of the big names from today, leading off with the Giants quarterback Tommy Cutlets DeVito, put on waivers today, essentially in New York. Desmond Ridder let go. Jake Heenan in New Orleans. Deontay Johnson, the former Steelers, Browns wide receiver. Another wide receiver, Malachi Corley, Clyde Edwards-Helaire in New Orleans. McCole Hardman, Jalen Mills, Hunter Renfrow, Robert Woods, KJ Hamler, Carson Steele. Those are some of the names. They're still coming in right now. The Browns released their veteran kicker, Dustin Hopkins. They're going to go with a younger kicker right now. So, again, huge moves. They're still coming in. As for the Cincinnati Bengals, they get their deal done with Trey Hendrickson. Give him a raise this year, a $14 million raise. He now will become a free agent after the season. He gets more money this season, and if the Bengals decide to tag him after this year, he plays at the same level he did last year. That tag will be close to $35 million, so Hendrickson will be okay there if he does get the tag, or he'll get to test the market. But the Bengals get back the man that led the NFL in sacks last year, and they need some defensive help. Hendrickson should provide that.
Listen, Trey Hendrickson said he was not playing under the current deal, and he shouldn't have. He had 57 sacks since he joined the Bengals in 2021, and that's tied for 5th most sacks in the player's first 4 years with any team since individual sacks became official in 1982. And now, out of the 4 that have more than him, 3 of those dudes are Hall of Famers. That's Reggie White, newly minted Jared Allen, and Derek Thomas. You know, Dan, we felt like this was something that the Bengals needed to take care of. But Trey Hendrickson is back. This is still a defense we saw struggle in the preseason. What can we expect from Al Golden's group this year?
Starting point is, will they tackle better? We talked about it all last season. This was one of the worst tackling defenses that we would watch week by week on tape. In contrast, we all felt that the Philadelphia Eagles went on to rout the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, was the best tackling defense. And my concern, RC, is we get rid of Lou Anarumo as the defense coordinator. We bring in Al Golden, who's as good a defensive mind as there is. And in the preseason, they're tackling poorly again. This is a defense that's got a very young back 7, both from their linebacker and their secondary level. So I don't think it's this, we have to figure out new scheme. Candidly, it's back to basics, back to fundamentals. There's got to be a toughness brought, there's got to be a physicality brought, and there's got to be some old school tackling principles brought. The physical talent, athleticism, I think it's there, but they got to play the basics of defense a lot better.
Yeah, listen, when I look at the Cincinnati Bengals, it's not about talent. Like, they've got some talented guys over there, but Dan, you hit it. It's the fundamentals. It's the tackling group. It's the tackling for the Cincinnati Bengals because, quite honestly, they were atrocious last year as far as tackling is concerned. Now, getting Trey Henderson back in the mix is a big deal, but let's not forget, last year they were bad. They were bad defense with Trey Henderson. If this defense could just be average, okay, that could be night and day for the outcome of the Cincinnati Bengals. So remember, the Cincinnati Bengals were 3-4 when they scored 33 points in a game. So if this group just elevates to average, the Cincinnati Bengals team, we'll be talking about them as one of the better teams in the AFC in the postseason.
I mean, I feel like we're just assuming, though, that this offense is going to be able to carry this defense. You talked about the amount of times they scored 30-plus, D. Wood, and we still watch them lose games. I mean, so vividly to me is Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow absolutely losing their minds against the Baltimore Ravens 2 times and losing both of those games.
Yeah.
And so for this defense, it's going to start with physicality. We can talk about all the talent they have, but if Al Golden doesn't have a complete culture change on the way that they approach football, I don't know how it gets better.
And you know the connectivity of a football team, and Joe's amazing, Pasquim's amazing. I think it's going to be interesting to watch the start of the season and just how Joe Burrow plays, because as a quarterback, when you know you have a defense that can't stop anybody, you live in a world of, I have to go be aggressive
and
with
you got to do it
football.
every snap.
Exactly. And so maybe you are overly aggressive with some of your decision makings because you're thinking, I have to go score. Whereas you have a great defense, you'll be a little bit more cautious and less aggressive. And so does Joe Burrow start off this season and maybe, a throw gets away from him because he's trying to force it in the fourth quarter and ends up being a pick? I'm not making excuses. It's just when you know you got to be that aggressive, it changes the way you play.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of it is, look at that preseason game, and we both said this is not how Joe Burrow plays. But could that be some of the effective thinking? Maybe at some point this year, I'm going to have to go above and beyond the X's and O's more than I ever have. But hey, guys, we are just getting started here. We're joined by Seth Wickersham, man. In order to have a second chance, that means the first one didn't work out. Seth, why do you think teams are so impatient when it comes to quarterbacks?
Well, really quick, I know it's a big day for tight ends, but Travis Kelce, high school quarterback.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you what.
I think there's other news as well.
I think that context matters, and as much as we like to pretend that it doesn't, it really does. And just what we said in that piece, stability matters, and as few quarterbacks are good in the NFL and as few become great, there are about the same number of coaches who know offense and know how to coach the position and know how to scout it. And I think that we forget, we're so quick to write these guys off as busts when they're in systemic problems. And again, if they can go to a team and learn from a really good coach and get a little bit of a reset, I think that there's an entire economy that's proven that's a place for these second chance guys.
Yeah, I think one of the points that Seth makes is this is not be disrespectful, but I just don't think a lot of people know how to truly coach the position, and truly understand the tax that's on those guys. And one of the things I see is all those guys you kind of talked about are big-time early draft picks. Yeah. So there's talent there. Why do they make it at the second spot? Number one, they don't allow that first failure to break them. I think doubt becomes a very real thing for those young players. And, a lot of guys cave to it as maybe I can't play. Maybe I don't belong. And so those guys like a Baker Mayfield dude that never allowed that to become a part of his life. Doubt never became the thing that was overwhelming. And so he constantly got better and constantly improved because he believed in himself. And then I think Seth hit it on the head. Is where you go is a huge part of that. I mean, you got these players all have better coaching, better situations, better support, better players around you. And so there was always the talent. I say this all the time. One of the mistakes when drafting and evaluating quarterbacks is you don't look at the bad stuff. And if you don't go get rid of the bad stuff of these quarterbacks coming out of college, the good stuff will never consistently show up. And I think a lot of teams run from that. A lot of evaluators and coaches run from that because they're scared of it and they think it's not real.
Yeah, Seth, these guys, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, they aren't the only guys that failed at their first chance. And not all of them get an opportunity to make that second chance work. What do you think it is about some of these individuals, some of those characteristics that allow them to shine eventually?
I mean, it's exactly what Dan said. They didn't get broken. And I think that that matters so much. And so whatever that rigorous resilience that they have within them, that self-confidence, that they were allowed to take a step back, understand, number one, that there were organizational issues, but number two, maybe there's things they need to get better with. And they go to a place like Sam Darnold did when he went to San Francisco and learn from some of the best coaches. I think that, like, you can speak to it, but I think the game slows down when you get that second chance.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it too is, like, there is a reality. You got to catch a break. You got to catch a little bit of a break. You know, you got to go to the coach. Also, going to a coach or a place that after you fall flat on your face,